Hello and welcome back to the Seeing Better podcast. I'm your host, Shelby Nix, and I want to wish you a very happy Memorial Day. And I hope you're having a great day off from work, hopefully on this Monday when this episode comes out. I've been into recording the shorter podcast episodes recently and thought of a topic that is quite random, but could be interesting to hear about. And that is the topic of discipline. Now, when I hear the word discipline, it makes me cringe and it makes me want to do the complete opposite of whatever that discipline entails. For some reason, there's a connotation with that word that feels very serious and very dogmatic in a way that, for me, and maybe for some other people too, is very unattractive. It doesn't really make me want to go towards whatever that is. However, with that being said, I do find myself being a very regimented and routine person and have come to love what may look like discipline at times. And it's a reframe that I've made and a realization that I've come to that I believe it's more about determination than discipline in many ways. And let me explain what that means. For me, discipline in many ways, in today's culture at least, has a connotation that you've been doing something wrong and you almost need to repent for it. So that could mean that you ate a lot of food over the weekend and were enjoying all the barbecues, which you absolutely should be doing if that's what you want. And then the week after, you have to, quote unquote, put back in the effort that you slacked off on, quote unquote, over the weekend and find that discipline to be back in the gym to do whatever it is you do in your diet, whatever the case may be. And discipline in itself is not necessarily a bad word. It's just something that I believe has got a bad rap for a variety of reasons. And instead of thinking about what you want to do, because it's what you want to do and you have the opportunity to do, not what you have to do, but think of it as a way that you can build determination. So, for instance, let's say you want to become the next leader of your company. That's a great ambition and great goal, but it's going to take work to get there. And that does not necessarily mean that you need to be killing yourself day in and day out, but it really means that you're willing to do what it takes within the frame of your values and your goals, of course, to get there. And to me, yes, you might find yourself being disciplined, but really what it takes is more determination. Discipline also, for me, is similar to motivation. And I know a lot of people might ask themselves, how do I find the motivation to do X, Y, or Z? And for me, I'm the type of person, and I realized this yesterday when I was playing tennis, I will not do something if I do not want to do it. I'm just that type of person, and I really need a reason to. Now, that might mean that I get up early, not because I necessarily want to, but I love the outcome. So I've been able to build that said discipline through the determination that I have to feel good and to be my best, which is through working out, getting up a little bit earlier, and making that a priority for myself as if it's part of my job. To me, if I'm able to go where my determination takes me, I find that the discipline tends to come because it's something that I want very much and I'm willing to work towards it. And I'm willing to be patient in certain circumstances. I don't always find myself to be the most patient person, but I've been able to build patience. One instance in particular would be building muscle in gym. I have now been strength training for nearly a year straight since July. And I've built muscle, but it's a slower process. It doesn't happen overnight. And it's not something that can be sold in a number of months because it's different for everyone. And it also is dependent on the weight that I'm lifting in the gym. Am I overloading my muscles? Am I increasing weight over time, and how much protein I'm eating and things of that nature? And while saying no to a donut is hard in the moment, I ultimately know that because I'm determined to be my healthiest, happiest self, that that donut is going to, yes, give me a bit of a dopamine hit in the moment, but ultimately, a hour, 2 hours after that is going to make me feel very sluggish and not like myself, not like my best self. And that has taken time. That did not come overnight. And it's a choice that I have to make every day, day in and day out. I've had to become very clear on what it is that I truly want. And some of those things include saying no to some sweets that I would have in the past. Of course, there's always a time and a place for that, but it doesn't need to be any old day during the week. Maybe it's during a special celebration, or I'm traveling and I want to taste the best pastry there is in that area. But I've had to make that concerted effort to get to where I want to be. And I know that those small moments add up to bigger moments, which then lead to me to my bigger goals that I have. Another one was several years ago when I decided to stop drinking alcohol. And at the time, I had just come home from a family vacation where we had a ton of fun. We drank a lot, and I just felt completely depleted and like I needed a reset. I also happened to have COVID at the time, so I naturally wasn't drinking. And 2 weeks led to 2 months to 2 years, and now it's been over 3.5 years that I haven't drank. And there have certainly been times where I am traveling to a new place and I want to have a drink to celebrate, or I've been at my favorite restaurant and wanting a margarita. Not going to lie, those times have happened, but I think back on how it felt when I was drinking and some of the mental struggles that I was having, for one, which really was the main impetus, because I didn't want to have those Sunday scaries or the hangover anxiety that I was facing at times after drinking. But also the way that I felt in my body was just not optimal and not where I wanted to be. And that reflection and that experience ultimately brought me back to where I landed several years ago, which was I'm determined to be my happiest, healthy self. And one of those byproducts is me not drinking. And I've been very, very great without it. And I've learned to live without it and say no, because I really value things like sleep and feeling good and not late night binging on pizza and whatever else I did back in the day, which was fun at the time, but really gets old after a certain amount of time. And then I've built, I guess you could call it, the discipline to say no and to continue on that path. All this to say is that improving yourself and finding whatever that next step is for you doesn't necessarily have to mean that you have to go hard or go home. That's really one of those old mindsets that we know generally does not tend to work unless you are maybe 1% of the population, like that guy David Goggins, who does all that crazy stuff and who's a Navy SEAL and whatnot. Maybe you're that 1%. Maybe you are. But if you're not part of that 1%, which likely you are not, and neither am I, we have to treat ourselves with a little bit more discretion and a little bit more respect. And that doesn't mean that we're going to be necessarily waking up at 4:30 every day, hitting the gym for 2 hours and doing the ice plunge. Maybe it's not that, and likely it's not. But what is it that you can do consistently that will then compound to give you a positive result? So maybe it's just going on a walk 10 minutes every morning. That's it. It's that simple. It's not a run. It's not a jog. It's not more than that. It's just 10 minutes a day. If you could commit to doing that, imagine what the results could be like, not just for your body, but also for your mindset and your ability to maybe stay off your phone in the first 2 hours of the day. That's the lead domino that the book, The One Thing, talks about, which is finding the lead domino. So what's the lead domino in any given situation that is going to then make all of the other dominoes or the other aspects of whatever this goal is obsolete. So if you were to just commit to that 10 minutes a day of walking, or maybe it's just drinking 1 Stanley cup full of water, imagine what could result because of that. If you are focused on drinking that 1 Stanley of water, the 40 ounce of water a day, and for some people that's a lot. If you were focused on that, then imagine maybe you don't have space or time for that extra coffee in the day or the extra soda or whatever the case may be. And ultimately, if you find that to be a great practice for yourself, maybe then you can add something onto it as well. So maybe you drink the Stanley Cup and then you add in an element electrolyte, and then you've multiplied your water and you're super hydrated at that point. Or maybe you add on another 40 ounce, whatever the case may be, that momentum will get you that much closer to where you want to be. And you don't have to go all out just at the beginning, because that is what tends to get us into a negative mind state and makes us want to quit. So instead of thinking of everything as a go big or go home situation, how can you build small practices and keep your eye on whatever it is you're determined to do? And inevitably, you will become disciplined if you want that thing that much. And that thing might mean that you have to replace, substitute, get rid of some other things that are no longer fitting within that frame. And that's hard. For a lot of people, that's hard to say, well, I really want to be able to go to the gym 5 times a week, but I also really like going to happy hour after work with my coworkers. And those two things can be true at once. You can still go to happy hour with your coworkers, but maybe you just have 1 beer instead of 3. Or maybe you have a cutoff point where you say, after 7 p.m., I need to go home, and that's that. So I hope that this was helpful. It was a bit of a random thought on my part, but I do feel good about it. I feel good that discipline no longer has to necessarily mean the same thing that I thought it did. And I've realized that for me, it's really determination over that discipline. At least the way that my brain works tends to gravitate more strongly towards something that I positively correlate with a goal, such as determination, which in my mind is a positive adjective, rather than discipline, which for me has thoughts attached to it that are more negative in my case. So just thought I would share this with you guys. I hope you're having an amazing weekend. I hope you're enjoying everything that the long weekend has to offer. And here's some more time off over the summer. I hope you have some fun plans and fun things that you're doing, because I'm going to be pretty busy coming up soon too, and enjoying the summer Fridays as they're here. All right. Thank you so much and have a great week. Bye.